get a lot more. So getting in the room is probably the biggest win, and I still know this today. The way people speak, the way people show up, the guidance, right? Because you're going to hit obstacles either way. You're going to hit obstacles, you're going to hit a wall all the time. And you need just some guidance to walk around that.
Hello everyone. Edward Collins here, your host of Entrepreneur Unleashed, and I just want to welcome you to another great episode. On today's podcast, we actually have in the studio today, I'm so excited for you guys to meet him, Yuri Mavashev. He's going to be telling you a little bit about his journey, and I'm so excited because for those of you who have been following, you know that I believe that the quickest path for you to up-level is to learn vicariously through others who've already been through the struggles that you're currently going through. So Yuri's going to share his story, and I'm confident it's going to resonate with so many of you. So we're going to jump right in. Yuri, thank you so much for coming out, and I want to welcome you to Entrepreneur Unleashed. Thank you very much for coming here.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. I know I had the opportunity to learn a little bit about you before, obviously, today's episode. But what I want to do is I want to try to take the audience through the journey that you've gone through. And before we get to the business side of the spectrum,
right.
Tell me a little bit about like your youth. I mean, I think we grew up in the same state, right? We're both
Jersey.
Jerseyans.
New Jersey.
Yeah,
Yep.
Excellent. So tell me a little bit about the young Yuri.
So the young Yuri, actually, I moved to the United States when I was 6 years old with my parents. My parents are not rich. Okay. My dad is a driver. My mom is a hairdresser. Okay. So, I didn't come from a rich family. We moved to the United States, with this dream that my parents had for their kids, to go to school, to get a job, and to, have kids, buy a house, and, live the American dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me about how was schooling for you? You came over here. You came at a young age, 6 years old,
Yep.
into the United States. You were thrown into the American education system.
Yep.
How did you do in school? What was your?
I did pretty good in school.
Okay.
And part of it was, my dad was always preaching us, you got to learn, you got to read books, you got to learn, you got to read books. I wish he told me back then to read entrepreneurial books or business books. Because it was all
we all wish that.
He used to read literature and things like that, like Shakespeare and all these Jack Londons and the European literature and things like that. But our parents and grandparents always preached that you got to learn.
There's some business things you can learn from Macbeth, but in the grand scheme of things, yeah.
Yeah. And my grandfather, my dad's father, he was a businessman in the Soviet Union, and he had a lot of. He actually went to even jail, but back then, people didn't know what. Nobody knew the exact story, but he had a lot of connections, and because of the connections, he had a lot of these fruits, vegetables, and people who would come from poorer countries. They would get a lot from him. So he was a big businessman, and and part of how I learned this was because me and him used to play chess all the time.
Okay.
And he used to, every move he would make, he would tell me something cool about his past, and I actually learned from him. He actually told me this. I remember when I was 11 or 12 years old. He's like, if you're an expert in your thing, nobody can beat you.
Right.
And I literally remember these words. So
it's powerful.
Yeah.
So you did well in school. What was the area that interested you most in school when you were going?
What interested me more, I don't know if it would be something that really interested me. I did pretty good in math and physics and calculus. I took all these calc classes. I had the honor roll, and I did pretty good in school. And not to say I was studying my butt off, but did pretty good. I used to wrestle also in New Jersey, and that's what kind of I think gave me a lot of the discipline. Should I say?
Okay. Discipline's important, right?
100%. Yeah.
When you look at your journey then into university, what did you study? What was your university career
I studied finance,
Okay.
finance and accounting. When we were growing up, our parents would say, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to go into finance. And the reason why I went into finance is because this was just something, my brother's friends were talking about going to one of these either finance or programming, or I had a choice to go to be a doctor or a lawyer like my parents wanted me to be.
Well, I look at your story and I say that, okay, of the entrepreneurs that I know, so many go through a similar path that you do from a career standpoint. So right after university, what was your initial job experience like?
Well, my actual job experience started when I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
I worked for my mother's friends. He had a dollar store in Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
So I like volunteered there, and I did a lot of free work with him. Whatever. I was very curious.
Okay.
So I think at like age 12, 13, I think I already knew how to like run this whole entire dollar store.
Wow.
I knew how to where to get like all the merchandise. Like I knew the whole 9 yards of a dollar store.
Okay.
So I think not that I thought about like it's like I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but I think like I didn't even realize it, but I think I had something even back then.
Okay.
So I worked all my years that I was growing up. I used to do sports. I went to school, and then I already got a job around Wall Street for an insurance company when I was a sophomore in college.
Oh, okay.
My second year. Just because, listen, I mean, because I wanted the money. I wanted to, I had this growing up, I guess, college days. So,
yeah. Okay. And what was that job?
So that job was I was a junior financial analyst in an insurance company.
Okay.
It was corporate. No, it wasn't anything crazy. I think that salary was like $35,000 to start.
Okay.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah, a lot of kids these days are expecting way more to start when they're coming out of university.
Oh,
you were still in university at the time, right?
Yeah, I was still in university, and I just applied for this job, and actually a recruiter got me in.
Okay.
And I was an Excel whiz, and I think that's what got me in. Because my boss over there, he's like a big Excel guy, big Excel guy, and I think this is where we connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then how long were you in that position?
I think I was there for about 2 years, 3 years.
Okay, so just after graduation?
Right before graduation, I got another offer from another company. Okay. So I went there.
And what was that business?
It was a company called Broadridge Financial, and they worked with investment banks. They'd rent out their platform to investment banks.
Okay. And what was your role there?
Corporate finance. So it's all anything from, P&L reporting, balance sheets. We actually had the AR team that would collect the money from the investment banks. And I thought everything is supposed to be very smooth in these companies, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. So did pretty good in there. Learned a lot. Learned the corporate culture.
I think that's a big myth with a lot of business owners, especially small business owners. They think that they look at these large companies and they're like, wow, they must have all their stuff together.
Oh, no.
Not even close, right?
Forget it. And I'll tell you what, the bigger the company, I mean, I've been to companies like huge billion dollar companies, and everything's out of of order. And this is where, I thought, again, as you said, we think they have it all in order, but when you come in, it's really like somebody grew this business. Mm-hmm. Like somebody started it, but I thought it was something separate from like a person. You know what I mean? That's that. I thought about it as like a separate. Like this is not a person that started this, but it's like it sounds like a building grew.
Out of nothing, right?
Yeah, out of nothing. But in reality, it's because of the people. The people that are in there, they either make it chaos or they make it good.
And how long you were in that position for? How long?
I had in that position I was probably maybe for about 3-4 years.
Okay.
And then I worked for the Big Four, for PwC.
Okay.
For a little bit. I was kind of, I would say, I jumped around a little bit.
But all in corporate. You were all in
corporate. Yeah. I mean, back then, because there's recruiters are always calling, they're always recruiting and saying, asking, if you want a bigger salary, if you want these better benefits, and so they're always pulling us around.
Yeah. But in that journey, so you're getting offers left and right with different positions, and you're basically migrating to different opportunities.
Right.
Was it all like sunshine and roses, or were there challenges along the way?
In terms of getting in or inside?
Yeah, both.
I didn't really have that much challenges. I think my experience my confidence came from experience.
Okay.
So confidence comes from competence. Mm-hmm. So once you start going in there, you start getting in the weeds. I mean, sometimes you BS your way through, but you learn as you go along.
Yeah, there's only so much acting as if that works.
Right, and what I learned is we have this saying in Russian: if you don't risk, you don't drink champagne.
Yes, I know it well. My wife is Russian, but
okay.
Yeah, so, when it comes to that corporate experience that you've had, obviously now you're a business owner, so there was a transition phase.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, unpack what that looked like. Like, what led you from going and thriving in corporate America to then transitioning into the business world?
Yeah, I did pretty well in corporate America. I was making good money, and I had a layoff. I had one layoff, I think, in 2011, and then another layoff I had in 2015. And again, we all get laid off. There's mergers and acquisitions. There's things that are happening inside companies.
Absolutely.
So the first time I got laid off, I found a job pretty quick.
But how did it make you feel? Like, what did you experience during that layoff?
The first time it was shock. It was like shock. I was like, I didn't know what to. It was just shock. It's like you get out of the building. It's like you don't have a job anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But once I started getting into the things, started looking for a little bit more jobs, and I found something pretty quick within like just a few months.
Okay. So it wasn't devastating.
It wasn't devastating. No.
Okay.
And I think the good thing to understand now, I understand it, is whatever happens is 10% in your life, and how you react is like the other 90.
Yeah.
So now if this would happen to me today, I would look at it as an opportunity.
Okay.
I mean, something else is waiting for you. I mean, something bigger, something better, something, just something else is waiting for you.
Okay.
Now, things don't happen. Things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay. And then the 2015 layoff, what was that like?
Yeah. So I was working for a global marketing and advertising agency.
Okay.
And this is where I learned lots about financial planning, things like that. So they were going through a merger and acquisition with another company, and this is when I got laid off. And I was feeling pretty good because I saved up like a lot of cash.
Okay.
So I was feeling pretty good. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's time to do something else.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's pretty much.
Unpack that. So you had a lot of cash. You just got laid off again. What did you do?
So I thought to myself, I'm going to start my journey.
Okay.
My entrepreneurial journey.
Okay.
I saw a lot of people getting into entrepreneurship. I'm like, listen, I'm in corporate finance and accounting. Let me launch my own accounting firm or accounting consulting firm. So I started doing that. So I registered the website. I started doing some research online, and because I'm doing research online, got retargeted a lot with agencies and coaches. Will help you, things like that. Got on the phone on these regular sales calls.
But you had a stockpile of cash that could help you get through that, or like what was?
What happened was, again, these guys were calling me. I'm like, listen, I don't have the money.
Okay.
I don't have the money. Although I had $200,000 stacked in the bank.
Okay.
And I'm
you
like,
just weren't comfortable letting.
I wasn't comfortable, right?
Okay. Well, I think a lot of business owners are that way. Like you get into a state where you experience a major transition event, and it's scary.
You're afraid to let go of what you
scary.
have. And again, it is scary. So what happened was, I was telling them all I don't have the money, and what I did was I went to travel. I traveled.
Unpack that a little bit. What do you mean traveled?
I traveled in Europe, in Asia, in America. I spent money on crap, on women, on crap I didn't need, on like things that just would help me, I guess, heal my soul, maybe.
Okay.
And then came a time when I came back, and I had like $10,000-$15,000 left.
Wow. You spent all that down to.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That must have been scary.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of scary, but I was always thinking to myself, I can probably go, if anything, I'll just get another job. If anything, I'll just get another job. That was what was inside my mind. Okay. So I came back, and this is when I started to really think. Mm-hmm. This is when I you know, balls in my head started spinning, and what should I do now? Because I got to eat, I got to pay for rent, I got to pay for my car, I got to, you know, do something, because another month or two and I'm done.
Right.
That's when I started moving, and I took the leap of faith, and I joined up with the most expensive program out there to grow accounting firms.
Okay. So you basically got mentorship to teach you what you wanted to do as a business owner.
Correct.
You invested in that.
Correct.
What made you feel comfortable doing that? Like again, based on the story that you're sharing with us, you've gone through this journey where you were in corporate America, you saved up some money, then you went to explore and find your soul, if you will, spending most of the money you saved up.
Right.
And then you had a very limited amount of resources. What made you comfortable saying, okay, I'm going to take those limited resources and I'm going to invest that in myself?
I don't think it was. I think I was comfortable.
Okay.
It was not comfortable. It was more about I have to do something. If I don't do something, if I don't do something now, I mean, listen, what do I have to lose? Like when you're in this kind of situation, like what are you going to lose another? Okay, I'll lose another 10 grand. I already lost, 150.
Right.
Another 10 is not going to do anything. So I took the leap of faith. Not even just a leap of faith. Listen, when I was speaking to this mentorship program, the sales guys there, they were future pacing me. They were showing me what it could be like, the possibility, the outcome. And for me, as a finance guy, as a CFO, this is exactly what we did in corporate finance. We would always project. We would always show future pace people, future pace other companies, and this is how they would. So this kind of resonated with me. They would show me. They would future pace me. This is what's possible for you. Like get on the boat now.
Right.
And again, I was in the entrepreneurial, I guess, info realm where I was listening to a lot of people, and people are saying, yeah, this is, we can help you grow. And they were putting out like testimonials of other firm owners as well. Okay. And I'm like, listen, I can do this too.
Right. If they could do it, I could do it.
Right.
Okay. And so you made a decision then to start your own business. Tell me about that. Like unpack that for us.
So, the start was a little choppy. It was a little choppy, and then the biggest thing was to start getting a little bit more organized, and in what I really wanted to do and who I wanted to kind of help. The first I heard the term of like niching down, from my mentor, and to me, and honestly, I actually knew about niching down before. The reason being is because when I worked in a few marketing and advertising agencies.
Okay.
And when I was going from one to another, they were all pharmaceutical advertising. So what happened was they were asking for that specific experience. So this is where I understood. It's like, all right. And then again, back to what my grandpa said back in the day, right? Like if you're an expert in what you're doing,
right?
Like you're like nobody can beat you. And this is the reason why I was hired into these marketing and advertising agencies, specifically in the pharmaceutical space, because I had experience in them. And this is where, again, the light bulb went off for me. I'm like, wow, I can do this. I can go out and help, business owners. Started off with marketing and advertising agencies also, because I had experience in that. And we helped them specifically with, business financial planning. And we actually went in, and it wasn't even about to be honest with you, it wasn't a lot about the money, but it was more, it's like, can I just show you something? Can I show you what your business can look like? And I'm going to show you what other accountants didn't show you, or they wouldn't show you. And they're like, all right, fine, whatever. And we came in, we showed them, again, we future paced them, we forecasted for them, we created like a little bit more business plans for them where they were vested, they were interested. And
who was the target again in that particular business?
Marketing and advertising.
Marketing.
Right.
So you basically were able to speak the language because you had that background.
Right.
You also were able to speak the expertise because you were also financially savvy.
Right.
And then through your mentor, you learned how to deliver this in a consistent fashion. What would you say was the biggest mistake you made in that business? Like, if you had to think back to the most challenging thing you did, like, oh man, I wish I didn't do this.
I would say the biggest mistake is probably I didn't spend enough.
Okay.
I didn't spend.
That's interesting. Unpack that more.
So spending enough meaning investing into myself, investing into my business. So it's not all about me. I didn't, because I thought, again, I always thought about my own pocket, but in reality, when you think about other people's bottom lines, this is when your bottom line is going to increase. Because if you think only about your bottom line, forget it.
Right.
Think about how to help other people get what they want, and you're going to get what you want. Again, Ziglar said that, but I really hold true to this statement.
Okay. So if that was your biggest mistake, not spending enough early enough, what would you say your biggest win was? What was the best decision you made in that business?
Again, it's getting in the room.
Okay.
Getting in the room with people that have been where you want to be.
Okay.
And learning from them. I think this is the biggest thing this is the biggest thing for any entrepreneur that's starting out, even if you're in business, but especially if you're starting out, like get in the room. Get in the room with people, even if you don't know how to do it, you're going to figure it out. So this is the biggest win, because let me tell you something. I'm working with a lot of business owners right now, and accountants and consultants and coaches, and they're trying to hold on to their little bananas, should I say?
Yeah.
If you want more bananas in the jungle, you gotta let go of the one you have in your hand, and then you're gonna get a lot more. So getting in the room is probably the biggest win, and I still know this today. The way people speak, the way people show up, the guidance, right? Because you're gonna hit obstacles either way. You're gonna hit obstacles. You're gonna hit a wall all the time, and you need just some guidance to walk around that.
Right. I like to say something along the lines of, like, in order to become the person you want to be, you have to be willing to sacrifice the person you are.
Oh yeah,
and that's the same concept.
That's also something very important. You gotta become. You gotta become, because you can be. And again, this is also another big win. I tried so many things, tried so many tactics, tried so many shiny objects here and there, but until I made a decision, I made a decision. And this is actually, I got this from my first mentor also. He's telling me, listen, if you had a gun to your head, right, by next week, are you going to get me these appointments or no?
Right.
Are you going to get me these 7 appointments that you need?
Right.
And once you start thinking that way, or it could be for somewhere, you could be, maybe you're not going to see your kids anymore. I mean, you can just imagine that, and then you're going to start moving. You're going to start doing something.
It's amazing what we're capable of when we actually put our mind to it.
And 100%. And I used to wrestle in high school, and my coach would always do things, and you would find out so much about yourself that you didn't even know, right? It's ridiculous of how much we're capable. So yeah, definitely making a decision, becoming that person. And again, it doesn't happen overnight, but again, you can get in the room with people, you can listen to people, and ego is probably one of the biggest things. I never had an ego. I have. I can admit that I'm a loser sometimes. I can admit that, and this is when you admit to yourself that you're not everything. This is where you create space for growth.
Yeah, I struggled with that a lot in the beginning. Because I did well in school, I did really well, and I didn't really have to try hard in order to do well. So I thought I knew so much. I had a huge ego, and that was the worst thing for me when I was starting my business.
And again, this also comes back to, I play chess, right? And my grandpa was like a grandmaster.
Wow.
And in order for me to see the way he sees the board, I have to look through his lens, through his eyes. And that's the only way you're going to do it, because, a lot of times you're missing moves. A lot of people are just missing moves. That's it. But when you get in the room with these people where they've been where you want to be, you start getting these moves.
Start learning it, right?
Start learning, yeah.
I mean, what is it? Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues.
Success leaves clues.
You just have to follow what other people have done.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this a little bit more. So you started working specifically with marketing agencies. Tell me about the business now. What does the business look like now?
So we still have the business. Our focus is in our accounting and consulting firm. The focus is on marketing and advertising agencies, but specifically in the pharmaceutical space.
Okay.
We are one of the few that are in there, and we know that business model, and we almost have no competition. There's a few people out there, that are in this space as well. But now, the accounting consulting firm is, we're not really taking on like many new clients unless they're very something specific that we want.
Okay.
Now, I moved into the coaching realm. We're coaching other accounting firms, other consulting firms, bookkeeping firms, how to grow their business. Okay, and we've been doing this for the past 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what is it that you're like? Obviously, don't give away the entire recipe book, but like, what is it? What are some of the things that you're talking with them about? Like, how are you coaching them? How are you?
So a lot of it has to do with the way they market themselves.
Okay.
Positioning. Because the thing is, nowadays there's way too many accountants and bookkeepers being born.
Okay.
There's, with technology today, and the online
The barrier to entry is much lower.
Oh yeah, there's no barrier to entry pretty much.
Right,
If you want to be a bookkeeper, you can become a bookkeeper next week if you want.
Exactly.
There's no barrier to entry, and the reason and now there's just so many of them becoming bookkeepers every single day that regular consumers of them, they can't tell the difference, like who's who. And the way we need to start differentiating ourselves. Like how are you going to tell the difference? Like everyone's going to the same coaches per se, and they're all marketing the same exact way. How are you going to tell the difference between somebody? Everyone became an advisor. Everyone became a C.F.O. overnight. Mm-hmm. But how are you going to tell the difference? I mean, obviously, so we talk about like marketing. We talk about sales. We talk about becoming a better C.F.O., becoming a better advisor to your clients. How to lead them better. Okay, so this is like something really, really big, for a lot of our clients. And as I was talking earlier, the revenue piece. Mm-hmm. Like how do we increase revenues? And I told you about that epiphany that I had, when I used to work again in an advertising agency. We used to, have monthly meetings, and I would come and I would always show the CFO, here's where we can save. Here's where we can save. These guys are getting drinks here. These guys are getting, dinners here. And, I always kept thinking like the regular, I guess, accountant. Mm-hmm. And the CFO sat me down and he said, listen, we need these drinks. We need these dinners. We're not going to save here. We need this coffee. Mm-hmm. Show me how to make more money. Help me make more money. And this is like when I had this huge epiphany of how do I help people make more money? Mm-hmm. So now this is the big thing. We've been helping a lot of accountants and bookkeepers make more money, increase their top line. Okay. Because a lot of people are saying, we don't have the time. I mean, even entrepreneurs, I don't have the time. I don't have this. I don't have, they're always making a lot of people making excuses. Mm-hmm. But let's double, triple, quadruple our revenue so we can create the time. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at it.
So let's again unpack that a little bit more then. Pretty much every business, whether you're an accountant or whether you're a plumber,
right,
you're looking to figure out how you can differentiate, because differentiation is going to get you noticed in the marketplace.
Right.
And being noticed is what it's all about.
100%.
What is it that a business can do? What are some tips that a business can do in order to help differentiate them?
So I think it all comes back to, not that I know that it's all coming back to. So there's a lot of technology that has emerged in the last few years, really, really crazy. Okay. And because of this technology, the human connection has been lost a lot. Mm-hmm. And then COVID hit, right? COVID hit and everyone moved to Zoom.
Yeah, right.
Everyone moved to Zoom and talking on these, Google Meet and all these platforms. And again, that even took away more of that human connection that it got taken away. So it all comes back to the fundamentals of how do we connect back with the humans? Because people buy from people. Yeah. People don't buy from companies, or people don't buy from a building. Mm-hmm. There's somebody behind there sitting that's making a decision.
Yeah, they want to know, like, and trust you.
Know, like, and trust you. So, a big tip, what we're doing right now is the way, how we're helping, accountants and consultants and financial coaches and other coaches. How do we do that? We do this through virtual events.
Virtual events. Tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean by a virtual event?
So, a virtual event is just, since the pandemic, back in the day, not back in the day, before the pandemic, for example, people used to do events at conferences, in physical conference rooms, right?
Okay. Like going to like big hotels and renting out space and just having a conference.
Renting out space, you do your thing, you present your product or service, you give them some kind of transformation, and you whether they buy or not, it doesn't matter. The energy that you give them, this is where the people connect.
You're building relationships.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I'm sure, whoever's listening, to this episode, everyone got some kind of aha moment at a conference. Right. An aha moment, an epiphany, something that you were like, man, the energy that you got out of there. So you get something positive out of a conference, like whoever that mentor was, right, or whoever that speaker was. So now, I mean, it's basically like this all became democratized pretty much. Like you don't have to be the Tony Robbins. You don't have to be. You can pretty much, and I had this epiphany at Grant Cardone's event when Russell Brunson was speaking, and he was talking about how you can stand on stages without leaving the comfort of your own home.
Oh yeah, it's hugely powerful. Hugely powerful.
And you can and here's the whole thing, a lot of things that we do, a lot of things what we try to help business owners with, and again, is how do we install small hinges that swing big doors, and how do we create leverage, okay? How do we do things that require, how do we multiply things that require less effort and less time? Okay. That is like, when I think about helping, our audience and who we help, this is everything, I have this in mind all the time. How do we leverage? How do we leverage? How do we install these small hinges that swing big doors?
So you think that the virtual conference is a small hinge that does spin?
Oh, 100%. If you want to add, again, 100 grand of revenues, how many sales calls do you need to have, right? You might need to have 5 sales calls a day, 20 sales calls a week. That's 20 hours a week. That's 80 hours a month. If you do a virtual event, you can do all this in 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, right? And we're coming back to the fact that it's not just about it's not about the virtual event. Virtual event is a tool, but in that virtual event, you connect with your people at a deeper level. Okay.
Different than a Zoom call.
It is. It's the virtual event
it's like a Zoom platform.
You can use it. Yeah, you can use a platform, but the thing is that you are able to. This is how you're going to differentiate yourself. This is how you're going to connect with people at a deeper level. This is how you're going to serve your customers at the highest level.
Okay,
it's through a virtual event. You get a lot of people into. Again, you don't need a lot of people. You can have. I had, one of my first virtual events. I got 10 people in, 6 people bought.
Okay,
made 40,000.
Okay,
that's one of my first events, and the thing is, like, virtual events, they compress time.
Yeah.
This is what we call leverage. This is what we call, again, it's not even, first you got to think about serving. When you serve your people at the highest level, when you can answer their questions at the highest level in a virtual event, when you can bond with them, the energy, and you divorce from the outcome. You completely divorce from the outcome, whether they buy or they don't buy. What happens is you've connected with them, you've positioned yourself as an expert, you're showing them what you know, how you can help them get to the next level. And again, even if they don't buy, the follow-up is easier. The call, then that next call is easier. What they learn from you, how they connect with you, completely different ballgame than just using technology to promote yourself. Again, not saying technology doesn't work. Of course it works. But when you can do that, virtual events create like huge cash injections.
Okay.
You can literally inject cash into your business. And again, not saying you don't need to do like one-on-one sales calls. You can, but if you do like an event once a month, your own little event where you get people in, you can have a $50,000 a week, $100,000 a week, $300,000 a week, $300,000 a month. We had people. We're having people doing, some good numbers. And again, it's not even. It's the numbers plus the impact that you're making.
Absolutely, 100%. I think that if you look at at least most of the business owners that I know, obviously, yes, they want to make the money. They want to obviously have a thriving business, but an aspect of that thriving business is the impact the business has on the people that they serve. When you look at the virtual event environment, that's still relatively new from a concept standpoint. So not a lot of business owners know about it or how to even implement it. Like, do you have like a secret sauce with regard to like how the virtual event should be run, like in general, or is it like specific methodologies? Do this in the first 3 minutes, do this in the next.
So there's definitely there are frameworks to follow.
Okay.
And it's not, and again, I learned this, from from a mentor. It shouldn't be like all technobabble. Technobabble means like, it shouldn't be like if you're not going to talk about like the brain surgery, like the electrons and neurons, what's in your head. Right. Like you want people to come in as one person and leave a different person. You want to give them a transformation. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the big important things of an event, like even an in-person event. Yeah. You come in one person, you leave a different person, and you want people to, some people call them challenges today, some people call them workshops. It's all the same realm of, virtual events. But you want to, in today's day and age, there's so many courses, so many programs, and you want people don't want to watch courses anymore. Like, I mean, if you're going to give them 40 hours of videos to watch, people don't have time anymore. I mean, I don't like...
they do, they're just not going to make time.
Right. I purchased so many programs. I mean, I went through a lot of my... Sometimes I go through my programs twice, 3 times. But that's just me. Right. And I sacrifice my nights, my mornings, or whatever it is, I do it. But most people, they have a life. People get sucked into a life. Like, they have, whatever, their kids, their wives, family, vacations, this, that, like work, and it's understandable. Mm-hmm. So with like a virtual event, you can give them a result at the event, mm-hmm. right? And then you sell them. You say, listen, you sell them the next step. You're like, listen, I mean, here's the whole thing. It's not salesy, right? It's like, hey, listen, this is what we're gonna go through. This is the result you're gonna get this week. Hey, if and at the end you're like, hey, listen, I have something for you. If you'd like me to hold your hand going forward with this, here's what I got for you. Here's what I created for you. Like. And this is like, again, you're serving instead of selling.
Right. The way I look at it, it's like, for the business owners that I help, I go through like a diagnosis process. Right. Like I take a look at where they are now. I talk about where they potentially would like to be. And I share with them that I have a method by which you can go from here to there.
Right.
And that process is made much more comfortable for me because I actually know that the value they're receiving is immense.
Right.
So it makes, like you said earlier, competence adds confidence or brings 100%. Confidence. And I think when you can demonstrate to those that you're serving that there's true value creation possible for them, then it's almost like you have a moral obligation to share it.
Right. So, it is your duty to share it. It's your moral obligation to share it. And here's the whole thing. Like, I mean, and again, also, sales, I believe it is a transfer of energy. Mm-hmm. And if you can truly help somebody, if you can truly, it's your obligation to sell to them.
100%.
And again, a lot of people think that they can think that this is what, that business owner or that person needs. But in terms of what you said, like, again, I'm thinking from a CFO perspective. I always model things out.
Exactly.
Like, let me just show you a little model. Let me show you how this works. Like let's just take some numbers down and future pace them. Mm-hmm. Show them, we sell them the result. Mm-hmm. And this is where, again, when we work with accountants, how do you become a better advisor? How do you sell them the result?
Well, some of that comes down to sales skills, too. I mean, so is part of what you do teaching them how to sell?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, there's like visual presentations also that you can create. There's different ways of selling, but the biggest thing is, obviously people like your energy, people are going to go for you, but what do people want? They want a result. Right. They want a result. And again, I'm not trying to use like other people's words here, but literally, like, I always use this example of like, if you're at the beach, right? We're in Florida here. If a bee stings you, if you get a bee sting, it's one thing that there's a doctor walking around saying, I'm a doctor. Okay, you're a doctor. Right. Cardiologist, cool. You have like 3,000 surgeries under your hands. But if somebody's walking around and saying, I have a cream for a bee stings, you're going to raise your hand.
Exactly.
So
you're providing them what they need.
You're giving them what they need. You're going to get people who raise their hand. And this is where, and this is where we're all headed to nowadays. A lot of coaches out there, they're solving specific problems. Mm-hmm. And when you become that person that can solve a specific problem, now again, you don't have to solve that problem. You can help them get to a better place. Right? And I learned this again from my mentor. The direction of something is more important than where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
The direction of something is more important than where it's at. So, and again, there's this I think a story that's running around, and I think we had something like in my school as well. Like, how do you help somebody if you're not an expert yet, right? You just be one step ahead of them.
Exactly.
That's it.
And I think that's what holds a lot of business owners back from taking their business to the next level, is because they don't believe, or they don't have this faith in themselves that they actually can be that next level person.
Right.
So they delay and they delay and they delay. But what you're saying, essentially, you don't have to be the true expert in every single thing.
Right.
You just have to be advanced of whoever else you're serving, because you're still adding value to that person.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to sales is an art form.
Right.
And there's also science behind it too. A lot of business owners, though, they look at the word sell and it's a 4-letter word. They don't want anything to do with it. How do you help those you serve get beyond that feeling?
So again, here's the whole thing. When I think it comes down to, if you might not be understanding exactly what you're helping them with. Mm-hmm. That's why selling can be hard.
Okay.
And we help a lot with. I mean, again, I don't like crazy like sales scripts. I want to really understand, again, like as you said, like where they are now, mm-hmm. where they want to be, like what's that gap. Mm-hmm. You get paid on the gap.
Oh yeah,
you get paid on the gap, and if we can help them fill that gap, this is what is gonna create or close that sale. So that's that.
Okay, so you've obviously had a pretty storied career at this point. You've come from corporate America. You started your own business thereafter. That business is now growing to serve a lot more individuals in a lot different ways. Like, what's next for Yuri? Like, what's on the horizon for you?
I thought about that to myself as well. I think it's definitely more impact. It's not about the money anymore. I mean, we're making money as is, but now it's more about like, how do I reach more people? Mm-hmm. Because I really have a message that I want to get out there. And now, again, we're doing a lot of things. Again, also virtual events. Getting our word out there and really trying to help people. We do donate to charities as well. Because I was in one of my mentorship programs was his name's Akbar Sheikh. It's like make more, give more, right? You make more, Absolutely. And you got to give more. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that when you can again let go of what you have in your hand, and again those bananas, that money that you have, like if you can let it go, because money is everywhere. I mean, mm-hmm. making money is easy. But if you want to truly make a bigger impact, you have to start thinking differently. Mm-hmm. And say whatever your goal is. I don't care if you're starting out, at zero, or if you have making $100,000 or $500,000. Like, think about your goal, right? You want to think about your goal, and start making decisions as if you're already making that goal, instead of making decisions that are where you started, right? So I think that's a good way to look at it. Like, would you be doing some of those things that you're doing right now when you're making that $1 million or $3 million?
Right. What are the habits, if you will, of that person?
Right. Yeah.
What are the routines? What are the decisions that they're making? Yeah. Like, if you were that person, how would you live that life?
100%. And this is and again, you shouldn't be afraid. Like, if some people say, "Oh, I have a goal, like whatever, 500,000, $1 million, $3 million," and they're afraid to get out on video, for example, mm-hmm. right? They're afraid to post some piece of content out there. Like, would a $1 million business owner or a $3 million business owner, would they be afraid?
Exactly.
Like, would you be afraid? Because when you get to that level, you're not afraid of anything.
Exactly.
You're not. And the thing is, you're going to have haters along the way. There's going to be people talking.
100%.
But again, nobody's going to judge you that's doing more than you.
Exactly. When you look at what's holding you back from that next level, like what is it? Why aren't you there yet? Like, what is it that you need to change with regard to you in order to take your business to that next level?
Listen, I think again, I'm not perfect. I think I do have some habits in my life that I definitely need to get rid of. And we all have that. We all have a life. And the next thing is getting into room with people I think bigger.
Okay.
And because again, when you're around these people, you're on 5 millionaires, you're going to be the sixth. And I think this is where, and then also, so again, there's a few habits in my life that I definitely got to get rid of. It's getting in the room with these people. And the other thing is, I would say, I think these are the two things.
Okay. Well, I look at some things with regard to like what are some traits of different business owners that have made them achieve different milestones of success. And one of the things I look at is like, one, you already said, like who do you surround yourself with? Like what's your network? Because the phrase is show me your network and I'll tell you your net worth.
Right.
Like the other thing I think about is reading. Like leaders are readers. So I'm curious, like what was the last thing that you read that you found pretty impactful? Like what was something that changed Yuri's mindset on something?
It's the Blue Ocean Strategy.
Okay.
Very, very important. And again, the reason why is when you are in a world where markets get saturated, you want to create your own. You want to become a market of one. And this is where you don't have any kind of competition. So Blue Ocean Strategy is definitely important. And again, especially with the niche that I'm in, or the niche that I'm helping a lot with, and I mean, coaches as well. Like coaches, like maybe 3-4 years ago, that niche wasn't as saturated as it is today. Like everyone's a coach serving a coach, serving a coach, serving a coach, right? Everyone's like a coach. But, even with bookkeepers and accountants as well, like it's one thing that you're, doing a certain type of job or a certain type of coaching. But if you get into a specific person, and then you get into a specific person with a specific trait or a specific age, like you're kind of getting away from what everybody else is doing. Okay, you're speaking to your ideal client. So again, Blue Ocean Strategy, like you're creating a market, like you're developing a market, you're a creator where nobody's hanging out. Right? Yeah. You're starting to solve new problems for people. Okay.
I know that there's definitely a number of people out in the audience that currently are at where you were at the very beginning of your career, like in business as an entrepreneur. If you were able to go back in time to tell the past you one piece of advice, like what would that piece of advice be? Because essentially that would be golden for the people who are currently there right now.
Get in the room.
I love it.
Get in the room with people who have been where you want to be. That's the number one success. I think I can't even emphasize that enough. Get in the room.
That's golden. Yuri, can you tell the audience, like, if they want to learn more about you, where can they find you? How can they get more information about you and what you do?
Sure, yeah. I'm on Facebook, Yuri Mavashev, YURI-MAVASHEV. On Instagram, Yuri.Mavashev. I'm on LinkedIn also. 100%. Listen, if you guys have any kind of questions, or you certainly send me a message. We have no ego. We reply to everyone, and we like to help as many people as we can.
Well, Yuri, I appreciate you investing some time with us today. It's been amazing. I loved hearing your story. I'm looking forward to continuing this friendship now going forward because, again, putting yourself in the room of the right people is definitely where you want to be. So I agree with wholeheartedly. Well, guys, I hope you found as much value out of this presentation, this little side, not necessarily a fireside chat, but just a relaxed setting where we can just sit down and talk a little bit about Yuri's background, his journey, because I'm confident that you can learn from the struggles that he's been through and the steps that he took to get beyond them. I wish you well in your journey, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Yuri.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was wonderful. Awesome.